So we're rolling.
We are. And we were talking about job location.
Mm-hmm.
All right, how do we go into this?
After I open my beer.
Okay, that's true.
We have one partner that's missing tonight. He's on doing some other work off-site, so he won't be present tonight, which is Jeff Givens. But Jerry, Chris,
Jeff.
how y'all doing?
Well, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Good.
Doing well.
Doing well. Tell you what, I'm gonna throw this out there too, because this is what YouTube people do.
Okay.
Please subscribe or like or leave us a comment, whatever. If you find this content useful and you like the idea of people like us sitting around talking about construction, how to be more successful in construction, then please support us and just like us or follow us or
Absolutely.
whatever.
Take the bucket of your heavy equipment and smash that like button.
As much as you can.
Yeah, that's funny. You know, we never ask for likes.
We don't.
Or
Really
things
never
like
have.
that. Yeah. Which, you know, I mean, we have a decent following on our YouTube channel and whatnot, which is obviously appreciated, but we never ask people to follow or like us, which is kind of we're marketing / construction guys, so that seems a bit ironic.
Yeah.
You know, you live and learn. You get caught up in making sure that you offer a killer
I hate asking
job
for
posting
likes.
product, and so
Sometimes it annoys me when you watch a video and they spend so much time just begging you to
like
the
something.
channel.
I know. Especially when it's scripted, and even if it's somebody you like or someone you like, it's the same thing over and over again. It's kind of comical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, follow, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I guess we can talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
So guys, y'all had some questions for me earlier, about, like, say, proximity of job location.
Well, yeah, that's, people actually follow and like our content, and we occasionally get questions.
Yeah.
And one that occurs over and over again is job site stuff. When I'm going out to bid a job, whatever, I'm new to this, what am I looking for, or is there anything to be learned from just viewing this piece of property that we're about to carve up and get ready to build on?
There's a lot of different, scenarios you can put together. I know you have a list of questions over there.
Well, I do, actually. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I have a fairly sizable list of questions.
And a lot of that derives from, like location, so carry on, ask me a question, see what we get.
Okay. Well, I know one of the things that I wanted to ask is ease of access.
Ease of access, it
seems like a no-brainer, but...
Yeah, it does, but if you're out in a rural development, of course, ease of access is going to be easy to obtain.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you're working somewhere like, just say here in downtown Dixon or downtown Nashville, it gets congested. So ease of access gets restricted.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not just so easy to mobilize. I'm not going to be able to pull in this site and start dropping off equipment or dropping off materials. I can't get it all done in just say 3 or 4 hours time or a day's time. It's going to stretch out because, you got to stop traffic. You've got to have ways to unload. If you got tracked equipment and you're downtown Nashville, if you can't fit in your site, you've got to have mats, plywood, tires, other things of that nature. And plus you got to have labor on staff to be able to go out and put these things down. Once your low boy unhooks to be able to put these things in place to get your piece of equipment or multiple pieces of equipment from the low boy to the site without damaging the existing asphalt. So
it can be a huge difference if you're bidding on a job on an acre of land out in the country versus an acre of land.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Yeah. Go ahead.
I want to just put you on the spot for a second.
Okay.
And I know there's no exact number and it can vary depending on where you're located. But let's just say I fumble this process in my bid in terms of when can I get in and this and that, and I way underestimate, the time involved there. If I'm a small guy, let's say I'm a small guy with a crew, maybe two, what is it costing me in terms of loss per hour? If I'm having to wait to get a piece of equipment in and I've got guys standing around, I mean, I know, and it can be a percentage.
Well, it's hard to throw a number at that, but
Sure.
A good way to figure it is like, it's going to cost you roughly, if you have your own lowboy, if you're going to hire a lowboy, whatever it may be, it's going to cost you roughly around $500 to $600 if you're moving in a 15, 20 mile radius to mobilize.
15, 20 miles.
Yeah.
So not a long distance.
No, to mobilize one piece of equipment.
One
That's
piece.
that's mobilize and demobilize.
Yeah.
So you're looking at like $500-600.
Yeah.
So if you've got a site or a project that's going to take 4 or 5 pieces of equipment, I mean, you can type $2 to $3 grand pretty easy. Just in mobilization, just getting your equipment there.
Just getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you're like in a restricted area, say you're on 2nd or 3rd Avenue of downtown Nashville, then you're looking at a minimum. You got to have a flag crew there to stop traffic, direct traffic. In like Nashville, they require a uniformed police officer to be there to help you direct traffic.
I guess that's your expense.
Yep. And so like with Metro, I've got a contract with Metro. I've got to give them 48 hours notice of when I need an off-duty police officer with a car to be there on site. And they charge me $50 an hour for the police officer and the car to be there on site. And they got a 3-hour minimum, which I don't understand that.
Sure.
And so, and then at that point, I'm taking plywood, I'm taking tires, blasting mats, whatever I need to lay down to get, once a lowboy drops deck, to get that piece of machinery from the lowboy to the job site. So I've got to have a minimum of 3 to 4 laborers there to lay this stuff down, pick it up, and move it as each piece of machinery comes in and goes out.
Yep.
So every time you mobilize and demobilize, you're looking at probably $1,500 to $2,000 in cost. By the time you
Per
figure
piece.
your labor, per piece.
Yeah.
So I mean, it can get expensive very quickly, and that's one reason you need to look. When you're bidding a project, and make sure that you got the right number of pieces of equipment allocated to do this job, and the right personnel on hand, to get this equipment in and out of that project. Sure, a lot of times we like to load up a job site with equipment because it looks good.
Sure.
But when it's going to cost you thousands of dollars to move, just say one piece of equipment in and move it out.
Yeah.
You might want to rethink your game. Maybe we need to do this with a minimum amount of equipment
Absolutely.
because it's going to be a slow-paced job anyway when it's downtown and restricted like it is.
Now, if I'm bidding to a general contractor, is he going to tell me those kinds of details that I'm going to need to pay a police officer $50 an hour, or do I need to understand those things myself?
You got to figure that out because unless you exclude or qualify your bid, like all traffic control, all mobilizations is at your expense, not mine. Which they're not going to accept your bid at that point. They're going to want you to handle your mobilization, demobilization.
Sure, they don't want to deal with that. That makes
Right.
sense. Yeah.
But you need to know when you're working in a downtown area, that you're going to have to acquire, and a lot of times they require a traffic control plan, in which that would be at my expense. I've got to produce a traffic control plan. If I've got work that's allocated out in the street, I'm going to be shutting down multiple lanes. I'm going to have to produce a plan, an engineer plan, to give to this municipality or this entity to be able to say, yes, we approve or no, we don't approve. Because at that point, it becomes a life safety issue. And it's based on, like, of course we call it Metro here, but Metro Fire, Metro Police Department, and Metro Ambulance Services. If you've got one lane, multiple lanes, or a whole road shut down, they've got to know because there's an emergency and that's their ease of access. They've got to reroute. They've got to figure out what the best route for them to go is. So that's why it's so important to know where you're at, and because multiple things that can cause you to be at fault.
Sure.
You know, if you got somebody in this apartment complex over here, has nothing to do with the site you're working on, but you blocked their access for the ambulance service to get there, and there's someone over there having a heart attack, or someone's falling, or whatever it may be, a fire, then they can't get to there to respond because you haven't done your portion. So they're going to require you to have a traffic control plan.
All right. What about this? If you're a small contractor here in Dixon County, where we're at, you probably don't have to worry too much about traffic control kind of stuff. If I bid a job in downtown Nashville, how do I know that kind of thing like you're talking about? How do I find out those kinds of details that I need to account for to bid that job somewhere like that?
That's something that you need to have a good understanding with the person that you are receiving the invite from.
Okay.
You know, just like I'm a contractor, say you're a general contractor, you send me a bid invite. Well, I look at the location like we know it's possible. I may have to have a traffic control plan. So I'm going to call you up and say, hey, Jerry, hey, I appreciate the invite on this job. What are the stipulations for mobilization and demobilization? And I'm going to be working out in the street portion of this project. What are my requirements? Am I going to submit an engineered traffic control plan?
Okay.
What am I going to have to do on my part? And then at that point, you need to negotiate with whoever you possibly are going to be bidding to. It might be multiple GCs you're bidding to. So don't just take the word of one. You need to reach out to each GC that you're bidding to and find out what they're going to require, because this bid for this GC and this bid for this GC may be totally different because of requirements they want you to handle and requirements that they want to handle on their own. And a lot of times you can piggyback off of like your grading contractor or your utility contractor, your paving contractor. They may already have a plan put in place. So a lot of times their plan will work with your plan. So you can contact them, which would be another sub under that GC. It's like, hey, can you send me your engineer plan? Let me use it because it's going to work with my scope of work.
Which this kind of leads into the next question we had about how many trades are on a job site at one time. And
Right.
depending on the trade that's taking place, you can have a bottleneck with that kind of thing going
exactly.
on. So, yeah.
And you've got to realize that, you got to be able to say, if I'm on this site at this particular time, how many trades am I going to be working around?
Yeah.
That's one of the key questions you need to find out or ask yourself is like, there's going to be a grading contractor, it's going to be a utility contractor, there's going to be a telecommunication contractor, there's going to be a sooner or later there's going to be a paving contractor there, but most importantly there's going to be a structural contractor there, the GC. Someone's going to be building this building, whatever it may be, and they're going to have multiple trades there working because their end game is to get this project in and get it into X amount of time frame.
Sure.
And so, which the more people you have working or the more trades you have working, the slower your production is.
Right. Are GCs very conscious of that? Or have you ever been in a situation where maybe one wasn't so considerate, I guess, in terms of planning and strategy?
They are considered, not considered, but they have structures in place.
Sure.
As far as schedules.
Yeah, and so they know that
They've got a lot of time for each trade to be in and work together. But like you and I, we may be bidding against each other and we don't know what that schedule is.
True.
We don't see that schedule until it's all over with.
Right.
And a lot of times their schedule, excuse my French, is just bullshit. The GC puts its schedule together and hey buddy, how many times have you been on site and actually worked?
Right.
Just because you say I've got this amount of time doesn't mean I can do it in this amount of time.
Yeah.
And so, that's the end game is from start to finish, your GC has a allotted amount of time.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to be up front with them. It's like, I can't do this in that amount of time.
Yeah.
I can give you X amount of days. Well, they're getting feedback from each contractor. So when they call you and ask you for your amount of time, do not hesitate to be up front with them. It's like, my scope of work is going to be X amount of days. based off of everyone else working here, based on the location of the job, and based on how hard it's going to be for me to get materials in and out of this project. Because
Weather.
we get weather.
And I guess you have to account for weather. I mean,
And generally, we do like, we usually like 12 to 15% weather days.
weather days.
Yeah, per month. So, I mean, that should be just like a common sense thing, It's
Sure.
like it's going to be, 12 to 15% per month.
Here.
Here.
And even that could change
It
depending
could,
on where
depending on location, yeah, right. But if you can't get in there a lot of time, you need to have a meeting with them like, hey, I've got X amount of days to do this work. But you as a subcontractor for your scope of work, you've got to be able to recognize job A and job B. This one is downtown restricted. This one's out, in a more less restricted area to where you've got open range and you've got, pretty good potential of production. This one over here is probably going to be at 50 to maybe even 100% less production than what you're used to getting. I mean, so you're going to really slow it down in the bidding process is where it really comes in, because if you don't allocate for those slower days and slower production, then you may get a job because you're a low bidder, but you're low because you're way low because you don't have enough time in this job to actually put it in.
Right.
So, if I'm used to getting, just say 100 feet a day, water line, 70 feet a day sewer. But I'm on this restricted site here, I'm lucky if I get 50 feet a week on one or the other.
Wow.
Or it may be, grading. Maybe it's like I'm used to getting, 1,000 yards a day production. Where over here, I'm having to haul off site. I got to have flaggers flagging my trucks in and out, haul off site. I'm lucky if I get 200, 250 yards a day.
Wow.
All right, let me ask you this. What we're talking about there, like the congestion in the area you're going to be working, if I'm looking at an engineer's plans, am I going to recognize that, or do I need to go?
No, it's not going to tell you anything on the plans. Their plans are going to look just like, this site over here that's, 30 miles away out in the rural area. So you've got to be able to recognize, hey, I'm downtown, this is going to be highly restricted. And, in city work, there's actually like 3 phases to it. You got your rural areas, and you got your suburb areas to where it's like mediocre, and then you got your actual downtown areas to where it's like completely restricted. I mean, sometimes it may take you 20, 30 minutes to get one dump truck in and off site.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. From the time he comes in, gets around all your other trades, gets to the point where he's going, gets loaded, and then gets around other trades and comes back out, you've got a flagger and possible policeman, there to direct traffic. It may be, where typically you're used to getting a load turned around every 3 to 5 minutes. It may take you, a good 15, 20, 25 minutes to get that truck in sight, get him loaded, and get him off site. Maybe even longer than that.
Yeah. Substantial.
Yeah. Then there's also, when you've got material, spoil material, that you're going to need in the future, like as a grading contractor, to finish this job up, you may have a designated area to store it in, but you're still working around other trades. I mean, there's so many scenarios. And then, you got to store it. Well, now it's in a way, now you got to move it. Well, here it is in a way again, now you got to move it again. You may handle that material 3 or 4 times. So, take that into consideration. And it may be cheaper in the long run to haul that material off site a few blocks down the road or a few miles down the road and stockpile it and then move it back in instead of moving it multiple times.
Well, here's another one for you. All these trucks coming and going creates a lot of noise.
It does.
Heavy equipment.
I think we should save that for the next episode.
The next episode?
Yes.
Okay.
I think
We'll do that.
This is part 1 of this discussion, and
Right.
we will pick it up shortly.
Keep it
So-
on top, Chris.
We like to keep you on the edge of your
Yes.
seat
Yeah.
as much as possible. Yeah.
So once again, please subscribe
Yep.
and
Yep.
follow and like.
Hit that like
Smash
button.
the like button.
Yeah.
Comment, ask questions. We would love that.
Or you know, if
Email us at info@profitdig.com. Whatever we can do to help.
and if you know could use a low cost, high quality construction job bidding and costing solution,
That is a bad
visit us
idea.
at profitdig.com.
Most definitely.
Starts at $99 a month. You can run your whole company on it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy actually.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome.
All
And
right.
there's
See you
no,
guys
there's
there.
no contract either.
Oh, no contract.
No contract,
I don't
yeah.
like contract. I don't even like the word contract.
No, I don't either, yeah.
No,
No contract.
don't like it. Yeah.
See ya.
All right. See ya.
Thank you.